Russian invasion of Ukraine this year has shaped global energy market and caused food shortages in some part of the world. A war involving China will be even worse for the global economy. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's recent visit to Taiwan annoyed China's communist government, which has launched military action over the island and conducted military exercise meant to remind the world that China plans to annex Taiwan someday, whether peacefully or by force. If that involves armed conflict, it will probably cause more damage to the global economy and global markets than any military conflict since World War II. Unlike Russia or Ukraine, China's powerhouse manufacturing sector is linked with economies everywhere, including the United States and Europe. The seas around China and Taiwan are some of the busiest shipping lines in the world. China could be planning its own Russian-style special military operation in Taiwan, an island that the Chinese Communist Party insists it's Chinese territory according to the reports from China. The concern is that the status of Taiwan, the self-ruled island that China claims as its own, draw the US and China into a military conflict that forced the rest of the world to choose sides. Such a conflict would also disrupt the steady balance that has allowed Taiwan to become the epicenter of advanced semiconductor production that help keep the digital economy moving, and it's crucial for future superpowers. In this digital era, semiconductors are used in almost everything, right from smartphone components to other digital devices. It is the most important component of electronic devices. The AI sector and automation industry depend on semiconductor industry. This places Taiwan as a strategic economic hub as it commands the global industry for semiconductor. The production of chips involves a complex network of firms that design or make them, as well as those that supply the technology, materials, and machinery to do so. Taiwan's role in the chip making has come under the spotlight as a global shortage of semiconductors forced several automakers to halt production. Countries including the US and Germany reached out to Taiwan to help with the production of chips. The shortage was a result of increased demand for electronics during the COVID-19 pandemic and was intensified by the former President Donald Trump's trade war with China. Taiwan dominated the foundry market, or the outsourcing of semiconductors manufacturing. Its contract manufacturers together accounts for more than 60% of total global foundry revenue last year. Much of Taiwan's dominance can be attributed to Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, the world's largest foundry that counts major technology firms such as Apple, Qualcomm, and Nvidia as its clients. Hi, my name is Gio. Hope you're doing well. In today's episode, let's take a look at the possible impact on the global economy if tension will escalate into a conflict. Let's get right into it. Taiwan has been governed independently of China since 1949. However, Beijing still claims Taiwan to be part of China. Chinese military pressure on Taiwan has intensified, and concern of a war erupting between Taiwan and China surround the globe, with the US supporting Taiwan by supplying weapons. However, the US still relies on the One China policy, recognizing China and Taiwan as one country, and has ties with China rather than Taiwan. The Chinese Communist Party government declared that the president has laid the legal basis for the expansion of Chinese military's role in foreign countries. It means that the Chinese government could technically initiate invasion of foreign territory while claiming that the operations are not actually war. If China goes ahead with an invasion of Taiwan, it could have a substantial impact on a global trade. If the United States become involved between China and Taiwan, this will mean a conflict between the world's two largest economies, and if Japan joins to help Taiwan and the US, then the top three global economies will be directly affected by the conflict. In such a war, it will be inevitable that major economic areas will be affected, including shipping lanes used by 1/3 of the world's shipping. A Chinese invasion of Taiwan will not only impact the semiconductor supply chain, but might cause a global economic chaos, according to an opinion published by the Bloomberg. The impact on the global economy. While the Russian invasion of Ukraine has driven up the cost of fuel, with the United States and several NATO countries implementing sanctions against Russian energy, the invasion of Taiwan could worsen an already serious semiconductor shortage globally. Taiwan dominated the global market for production of the most advanced chip, and its exports were worth $118 billion last year. Before Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine, US trade with Russia was $36 billion per year. Trade with Ukraine was $4 billion per year, for a total of $40 billion in direct trade disrupted by the war. US trade with China is $656 billion per year, including imports of consumer products in every American homes and components in many goods assembled in the United States. US trade with Taiwan is $114 billion, and that includes some of the world's most advanced semiconductors. Combined US trade with China and Taiwan is 10 times US trade between Russia and Ukraine, and it involves products far more crucial to the US economy. The same interdependencies exist between China and Taiwan and most of the world's advanced economies. China's $17 trillion economy will suffer a lot more. The damage would likely come from several directions: economic sanctions imposed by the United States and other nations, attack on Chinese infrastructure by Taiwan, the cost of sustaining a costly war, and excluding China from many international systems. Taiwan's relatively small $670 billion economy would probably suffer the most, as the nation's fight for its very survival. In Taiwan, the semiconductor industry is so important that capturing it intact might be a day-one goal of China's military if it were to invade. It's also possible Taiwan could destroy state-of-the-art fabrication plants to keep this vital technology out of Chinese hands. The company depends on intellectual property, machinery, and chemicals that are almost entirely supplied by firms in the United States, Europe, and Japan. The impact on semiconductor industries. Since there is a possibility of China attacking Taiwan, it's natural to wonder how it will impact the world semiconductor industry and whether the price of devices are going to rise. There is a Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company chip in every new Apple iPhone. In every modern automobile, there are anywhere from 1,000 to 3,500 semiconductors, many of which are produced in Taiwan. Similarly, the rollout of 5G and Internet of Things infrastructure is heavily reliant on availability of microprocessors, which only a handful of firms, including a Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies, have the capacity to manufacture. These are just few of many essential technology and industries which will be impacted by disruptions to Taiwan's manufacturing. According to a Goldman Sachs analysis, the world chip shortages has already affected 169 industries, and we are not talking about electronics anymore. Industries like steel and concrete production and even soap manufacturing are already affected. Reports suggested that the mobile phones are going to get more expensive. Apple might increase the price of the upcoming iPhone 14 by $100. Prices have been increasing across the whole supply chain, and Apple needs to pass this cost to the consumer on his release. Not just Apple. A report confirmed that almost 90% of smartphone brands were affected due to the global chip shortage. In 2021, only 70% of the request components were made available to mobile phone manufacturers. Companies like Samsung, Oppo, and Xiaomi were more affected than Apple. What's next? The global mobile semiconductor industry alone is expected to reach more than $80 billion by the end of 2027. On the other hand, the market share of the automobile semiconductor industry is expected to reach $115 billion by 2030 from around $43 billion in 2021. However, if TSMC's trade comes true, we'll see computers, laptops, mobiles, and automobiles getting costlier and harder to get. While US-based car automobile company General Motors reported 16% of cars being unsold due to a global chip shortage. It doesn't take much to predict what might happen if the country producing 63% of total semiconductor stop producing them. The situation will be bad, and it will take us not years but several decades to recover from it. According to Semiconductor Industry Association, the industry has already announced $80 billion in investment in the United States. This includes the upcoming $17 billion Samsung factory and $30 billion instruments investment in Texas. Recently, the US introduced the CHIPS Act, which is the main job to bring semiconductors manufacturing back to America. The $52 billion package under this act aims to attract companies to manufacture semiconductors in US. Out of $52 billion, $39 billion are to be directed towards giving financial assistance to companies looking to build a manufacturing plant. Also, $11 billion are supposed to be allocated towards research research and development. Just a reminder, nothing from this channel should be considered investment and financial advice because the information is presented without consideration of the investment objective, risk tolerance, or financial circumstances of any specific investor and might not be suitable for all investors. Investors should consider engaging a qualified financial and tax professional to determine a suitable investment strategy. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you find this content helpful, smash that like and subscribe button to help the channel grow, turn on the notification bell, and check out all the links in the description down below. See you in the next video.